you. So in his statement on the anniversary of October 7 today, Secretary Blinken specifically mentioned the names of Americans killed by Hamas, but he did not mention Americans who were killed by Israel since October 7, like Tevfik Ajak, Ayşenur Ezgi Eygi. Why were these Americans not mentioned in the statement? And is that, does that indicate a different standard for Americans based on who killed them?
Absolutely not. And if you've seen this, our public statements, we have spoken out forcibly about American citizens who have been killed today, or have been killed on both sides of this conflict. The statement the Secretary put out today, though, was about the anniversary of October 7th.
But
and the people that died in the attacks on October 7th, and the American citizens who were taken hostage on the deaths on October 7th. You have seen us on other occasions speak out, and we will continue to speak out forcefully about other American citizens who die anywhere across the world. But the statement today was about October 7th, and in no way is a statement about the anniversary of October 7th going to cover the entire sweep of this conflict. But we thought it was important to, on this anniversary of the horrific attacks, to memorialize the people who were killed as part of those attacks.
And do you have any update on the investigation into the killing of Ayşenur?
It continues to be underway. I don't have any further update. Yeah.
There were some reports in recent days that North Koreans were reportedly killed on the front lines of the Ukraine war. Did you guys see those reports? Does the U.S. have any assessment as to if North Koreans are fighting for Russia?
Let me take that one back and get you an answer, and then Humaran will wrap for the day.
Matt, just something that you said at the beginning, I think, of the briefing to Kylie. She was asking specifically about potential IHL violations in terms of Israel's strikes in Lebanon. And you said, with respect to Gaza, she asked about that later, but before you said, a limited number of people available to perform those assessments, especially when you look at the number of incidents that's been reported in Gaza. So we'll ask you about these potential IHL violations of Israeli offensive since the beginning of Gaza war. Are you suggesting that U.S. hasn't been able to conclude these assessments because you're short of personnel?
No, not in any way, only that it takes us longer to conclude those assessments because of the number of personnel that we have available to conduct them and the very high number of incidents that we're having to look at. If you look at the National Security Memorandum, which we released, I think it was in April, it made clear there that we were looking at a very high number of incidents, and it is an extremely intensive process to look at incidents, to try and gather facts and apply those facts versus the law, and we have a lot of them to look at. And Congress doesn't give us any additional funding to look at those. We, of course, welcome it. But no, only that we have a lot of incidents, so it takes time to work through all of them.
Right, and in terms of the process we're talking about, are we talking about an atrocity determination? What kind of process
I'm not going to get into we've said a number of times, it remains true that we have a number of different assessments underway looking at individual, potential individual violations of international humanitarian law, but I'm not going to get into the
details. Do you think you're going to be able to conclude them either way before the administration hands over to the next administration?
So there have been, I've made this clear before, there have been some that we have concluded already, because you can always, look, you know how it is, think about any kind of investigative process. You get some incidents, and right away, the ones that clearly don't rise to the level of meriting further investigation, you can close those out and move along. And we've been able to look at a number of things and close those out and move along. That's been true going back months, and I've made that clear before. With respect to the other ones, I can't give you a timetable other than to say that we want to finish the work as soon as possible.
Are you at all able to say at least how many you haven't been able to close off and move on?
I'm not. With that, we'll wrap for today. Thanks, everyone.
When you say it's far time to end this conflict, and obviously you have to be two sides, to agree to end the conflict, are you saying specifically to Israel, stop the bombing, stop its operations in Gaza, or do you still support those?
We do not believe that a ceasefire where Israel unilaterally stops the war without an agreement with Hamas to stop attacking Israel, to release Israeli hostages, to release American hostages, to release the hostages of other countries is a just outcome. We want to see a ceasefire, but it needs to be a ceasefire that includes both parties to the conflict, not just one.
Can I just follow up on
Sure.
that? I apologize. Okay, you're doing these evaluations and come out whenever they come out. The president, during Gaza said, the Israeli operations were over the top, for example. So specifically, the ones that are happening now in Lebanon, Are they over the top?
I don't have a sweeping conclusion to offer you at this point. We're watching all of them closely. We make our judgments, both when you look at the totality of incidents, and I don't have an assessment to offer on that, and then there are different questions about about individual strikes that we are the types of things that we regularly look at. Were you done?
Just one more question.
You said you want the airport in Beirut to stay open and you want access to the airport. So does that mean that you have complained to the Israelis about this apparent bombing of the road, one of the roads to the airport?
We have made clear to them that we want to see those roads continue to be operational.
Yeah, I'm sorry. So did you say that, hey, you shouldn't have done that?
I'm not going to speak to that strike. But we may have made clear to them, even just going back before that specific strike, we have made clear that we want to see those roads to the airport open so American
And
citizens and
how
others can get
effective
out.
do you think that was?
So we have seen 900.
I just saw pictures of the road in flames.
And we saw around 150 American citizens able to get to the airport today and able to leave,
But
and we
you
have
said
other
that
flights
it
that are
was-
planned. Look, it is an ongoing
All right.
situation, but we want to see the roads open.
Last thing, and I'll stop. In response to, I think it was Hibba's question about UNIFIL. So what is it that you want UNIFIL to do? Nothing? Just stand there and watch?
So we want to ultimately see UNIFIL fulfill its security role. The question about what they do in the immediate days is a question for UNIFIL to make, not the United States. But we want to see them not be put in harm's
Sure.
way.
Yeah, but they're a peacekeeping force.
Correct. They're a peacekeeping force there to push Hezbollah
So
back
look,
from the border.
peacekeeping forces don't go into places like,
Yeah.
they don't go into resort communities and
Correct.
expect there to be nothing except for, beach and cocktails.
We don't
So
want to see them attacked by
Well,
Israel.
no,
We don't
I'm
want
sure
to see
you
them
don't.
return
But-
fire by Israel. We do not want to see
But if
any
they're
kind of
not
conflict.
but if they're not preventing anything from happening, I mean, I guess, do you want them to keep the peace, or do you want them just to sit there and watch?
Ultimately,
and
we
observe?
want to see their role as one that prevents Hezbollah from occupying the space in southern Lebanon that Hezbollah has continued to occupy for years, and from where they have launched attacks against Israel. That's what they were put in there to do,
Right.
and that's the role that we want to see them play. What's happening right now is Israel is conducting operations to push Hezbollah back.
Yeah.
We hope those operations are successful,
So
and if they, let me say,
UNIFIL
and
so
if
you
they
don't-
do
you-
push them back, we want UNIFIL and the LAF to,
So-
to
so you-
fill that security
So
vacuum.
you don't see UNIFIL as having any role in terms of Israelis going into Lebanon?
Their role is there to
going
keep
up
Hezbollah back. Now, for a variety of reasons, UNIFIL and the LAF have not been able.
Peacekeeping involves, you're keeping the peace not between
I'm aware,
one side.
but for a variety of reasons, UNIFIL and LAF have not been able to prevent Hezbollah from sitting in those areas just over the border from Israel and launching rocket strikes and other attacks against Israel. So Israel is taking steps.
Okay,
At
but
the
see-
end of that, we want to see UNIFIL play
But
that role.
this isn't an anti-Israel question, and I'm not suggesting that UNIFIL should be taking action against Israel, but they haven't been able to do it. So why do you think they're going to be effective now? in terms of Hezbollah.
So I'm not going to make any predictions about what will happen. What we have seen is Hezbollah's forces degraded. I can't tell you if it's going to be degraded enough. That
Not
they're
by
willing-
UNIFIL.
No, I know. But
And they
I
haven't
know.
been pushed back
Hold
by
on. I'm
UNIFIL.
talking about what's happened by the last 10 days. I can't tell you whether they're going to have been degraded enough that UNIFIL is strong enough to come in and fill that security vacuum, but that is the open question that is being presented by the current operations in southern Lebanon.
Sorry,
Yeah.
sorry, Nick, but
No, go
on
ahead.
1701.
I'm only going to go behind you just because we're 40 minutes in. I've got a lot of other people to get to.
Okay.
Go ahead.